Bakes cakes.
Yes, all of it. So, yes. This public art program was started in 2010, of course, with Nancy at the helm, and it has been going strong ever since. So it's just a real honor to finally have all of your work on our walls. It's really special. So can't wait to hear what you have to say. No pressure. Be brilliant.
Thank you, Rachel. And thank you all for coming out tonight. But as Rachel said, this is my second home, and it's very special to me to be able to exhibit here. It just feels kind of strange to be on this side of the fence. Actually, it feels really strange to be the artist instead of being the one announcing the concerts, and I'm glad I don't have to do that anymore. Thank you, Carla. And thank you, Carla, for all your support in putting up the exhibit and working with me to hang it up. And you know, it was great working with her always. It's been a long journey to come to this point in my life to actually be able to say, you know, I'm the artist. It's a strange, like I said before, it's a very strange feeling for me to be here. This is my first artist talk, so bear with me, but it's wonderful to be able to do it with so many friends and colleagues around. As I told someone earlier, it's like having a party without having to clean the house. And I do hope you all will eat lots of goodies because I don't want to take them all home. So please fill up the plates and take some with you. But this really means a lot to me, as I said, being here at the City Hall and with the Public Arts Program. I think there's over 70 artists represented here. So I hope you'll wander around. You can wander around the halls, as I said before to Kelly. If the hall's dark, the light will go on, so don't be afraid. Go down there and take a look. And the two pieces of mine down here and one at the top of the stairs if you want to try to find, you know, which ones are there that are not part of this exhibit. This is the rotating exhibit. So like I said, it was a long time getting to be an artist here at all. I never expected to have a chance to be an artist. As I was growing up in Highland and Milford, there were very few art opportunities. Going there from Detroit was quite a shock to me. And our high school had 2 art classes. We had Art 1 and Art 2. And they were both taught by the same teacher, and I think they were both the same class, essentially. They did the same thing. She gave you a bunch of things to work with and just said, go do something. And by the time I was a senior in high school, there were absolutely no art classes to take at all. And that was hard, you know, when you're up, you're going to college and you're up against people from Cooley High School and from other high schools around that had portfolio classes and fashion design and sculpture and all of those things. So I never really thought to major in art. But I was lucky to take a couple of classes. I was able to take a class in stage design and one in costume design. Those were so much fun. And I ended up minoring in history of art and got to view all those wonderful paintings of all the artists over time, and such an inspiration, and go to the DIA, and we're so lucky to have that museum in our community. But after doing all the community arts here and finally retiring, after a couple of years, I realized that I'd always wanted to try painting seriously, and decided, you know, this is my chance. It's now or never. So decided to try oil painting, and I looked at some artists on the internet, which is such an amazing resource. As all of you who are artists know, you can watch other artists and do their paintings, and from step to step, and just be astonished at what they can do. So I thought I would try, and decided to do oil painting. And the reason, someone asked me today, why did you choose oil paints instead of watercolor or acrylic or something like that? Along those lines, you know, that might be comparable but not quite the same. But I really love oil paints. And there are 2 reasons why. One is because with oil paint you can do so many different things. It can be somewhat transparent. Some actually come as a transparent oil paint, or you can add other medium to them. So if you want to add like a little bit of pink to that baby's cheek, you can do it with a transparent glaze, and playing around with all those different things is pretty fun. Also, they can be very opaque, which is nice. And they don't dry fast. And I find that I like to keep working on something. It takes me a long time to finish a painting. And sometimes in the beginning, when I was really scrimpy with my paints, I would cover them up at night with plastic wrap and be able to start again the next morning on a painting. And that was always advantageous too. And the thing about opaque oil paints too is that they're very, very forgiving. Sometimes you're trying something new, especially as a new artist. I didn't want to follow any kind of formula or another artist's practice. So I would fool around with the paint a little bit, decide what I wanted. But sometimes something wouldn't turn out exactly right, and oil paints will let you change that because they're so opaque and they're so forgiving. As an example of that, this one over here, Cecilia's cello, I started out with a totally orange background because I love orange. You can probably tell I love orange. And then I painted Cecilia and her cello and those fantastic shoes. But I found out, of course, it was too overwhelming, all that orange. And with oil paint, you could go back over it and fill in the blue sky. But then as I got closer to the body, I decided I really liked that orange around her. So just left it. And you could do that with oil paint. The other thing I decided to do because I've always drawn faces and bodies and my own paper dolls when I was little and all of those things, I've always been drawn to portraiture and loved looking at faces and doing portraits. So the first few paintings that I did were of our grandchildren and some of my friends' kids and so on, and moved on from there. But I love doing portraits because I feel like when I'm painting someone, you're looking at their face for hours and hours and hours, and you kind of get a feel for what they're thinking or what they're feeling. And I really wanted to get across the expression that they have and maybe the mood that they're in, and try to draw that out because I enjoyed looking at it and I enjoyed trying to capture it. And then as I went along, I also wanted that to be something that would draw in maybe the audience too, to kind of get the same feeling that's coming out of that painting. So that's one reason I really liked to do portraits. And also to capture, the main reason I started painting, to capture my grandchildren, my children. One of my favorite portraits is this one called Hatitude. And I think you can see, why I chose that face. I had several reference photos of her with great big smiles and different attitudes, but this is the one that really struck me. Just the seriousness of it and that feeling like I'm wearing this hat and I think it's really, really cool. She's just kind of putting that out there. And I'd like to mention that this hat was designed by Rochelle here, a wonderful hat designer, and I believe this is her cousin. So it was a lot of fun to paint the hat as well, but that's kind of what I want to do with portraiture, is get that out. So I'm grateful to Carla and Rachel. What's her face? Yeah, we worked together for 14 years.
What does she usually call you?
Yeah. Timbit is what I called her, Timbit. For letting me choose which paintings I could put up here. So I thought about it for a long time, and I thought being here in City Hall, along with the program and my friends and where I used to work, is kind of the past. And then of course this is the present, doing these paintings. So I chose paintings based somewhat on that. Some of my older paintings are here, some of my first ones, and my most recent ones are here too. And I'd be curious to know, those of you who haven't followed this whole journey along and know these paintings, if you can pick out which ones are the earlier ones. But sometimes people will always ask you too, what gives you an idea to start with? And sometimes it's just as simple as a wall. When you see something as you're vacationing somewhere, or a building, and you take photographs of it, and you know that somewhere along the line you want to paint that. The one in the back over here, the Woman's Tonic, came from a trip that we took to Paducah, Kentucky last spring. I happened to see this old ad on the wall there, the brick wall on the outside of the building, for the Women's Tonic. And it started making me think about, I wonder what in the heck was the Women's Tonic, or what they thought at the turn of the century would cure all the ills that women might have. Was it laudanum, or was it alcohol, which But what in the world would they think would be one thing in a bottle that could cure everything? What a funny idea from the past. So I wanted to use that as a backdrop, and of course in front of that, to use one of Rachel's words, you have to have a badass woman. So that painting is kind of the past and the present too. Here's the presumption in the back that someone could cure all the ills of women in a bottle, and then this woman in front that knows exactly what she wants and will help her and what she needs, and the strength of her. So I loved, putting her in front of that wall, and that's kind of the past and present too that's in this exhibit here. I talked about portraiture a little bit, being one of my favorite things. It's also the toughest thing, I think, to paint. It takes a long time.
Somebody move aside.
Everybody stand
All right, I'm gonna go home now. Take some boxes off, go home. Anyway, I can still talk, so. It's really hard, and I do a lot of commissions. I have done quite a few commissions in the last couple of years, and they're kind of stressful in a way. It's very enjoyable also, and those of you who do them understand that. It's a challenge, and it's kind of fun because you know what they expect, you know what you can do, and you have to find that middle balance between the two. So after doing quite a few commissions, now and then I need kind of a break, and that's where the animals start coming in. It started with a duck. Not your duck, it started with a duck. I had some extra paint on my palette and decided, well, why don't I just use this little tiny canvas and paint something, and it was a duck. Well, then my grandson Xander said, oh, can I have that? That's so cute. I said, of course you can. I can always make another duck. And I did. And the next duck went home with these people. And I found that painting the animals was so much fun and kind of a break from the seriousness of trying to accomplish a portrait. But then the more you paint the animals, the more you find that they have the personalities too. And you start looking into their eyes and watching their antics and so on, and enjoying painting them so much as well. And they started to grow during COVID, especially, just kind of churning out the animals. It was a lot of fun. Then I got into the owls, and I did a whole series of owls. The last exhibit I did was actually all owls. There's quite a few of them still, and they were amazing. I mean, if you start looking at reference photos of owls, the variety is incredible. The colors are incredible, the different eyes, the different expressions. Owls can look really funny. They can look really scary, like the phantom down there. There was a never-ending amount of owls to paint. That's what I love so much about painting, is there's always something new, there's always something you can try. I think you have to stay away from any kind of a formula when you're painting, because you don't want them all to be the same. I have seen some artists who also are very, very accomplished artists that I really love, but I notice that they'll put everything down, and they've been painting for a lot longer than I have. They'll put everything down in their palette and mix it all ahead of time and know exactly where it goes, and I just can't work like that. When I'm painting, I'm mixing, another nice thing about oils, mixing right on the canvas and kind of feeling like I'm doing a sculpture in a way, like adding the sides that make the roundness or the depth behind or something like that, and I kind of like to work more spontaneously, I think, than planning it out too much ahead of time. And maybe that's because I haven't been painting as long, but I think it's a lot more fun that way, and I think it's more intuitive. And since I don't have formal training, I paint very intuitively. But that's why it's so enjoyable for me in a lot of ways. So one thing I'd like to say too is, since I did start painting later in life, that I really do believe that all of us have a lot of different fractions within ourselves, lots of different things that you could pull out whenever you want to and try something different. It may not work for you, but it could be the greatest thing in the world, something that you really latch onto. I know my husband's currently making guitars, and he's doing a fabulous job on that. He never would have thought he'd be doing guitar work. And lots of people find things inside themselves. It doesn't have to be a visual thing. It doesn't have to be something that you're going to put on display. It can be anything. Piano.
I love hearing you talk. But I also love that you're kind of empowering all of us to use our own intuition. We all have it. And, we might be rearranging furniture, and something isn't quite right, or you're painting, and something isn't quite right to you, but trust that and go for it, whether you're cooking or painting or whatever you're doing.
Absolutely, that's true. If you thought in the back of your mind over the years, I really want to read every play Shakespeare wrote, do it.
Right.
You know, it doesn't have to be visual. So I'd like to encourage you. It doesn't matter what stage of life you're in, or whatever it is, but do it. Pull it out and try it. And if that doesn't work, try another one. But everybody's got special talents, and everybody can do that if they want to. So please. Eat lots of stuff.
That's my special talent.
And also, I wanted to know if anyone has any questions about a particular piece or anything you'd like to know. How to make baklava. Well, once again, thank you so much
Nancy.
for coming.
You don't mind if we take photographs, do you?
No,
Okay.
no. Earlier tonight, I thought I was getting my senior pictures taken. But just being with such good old friends and the rest of you also coming out, it just means so very much to me. So I truly appreciate it. Yes.
Do you take photographs of your portraitures first and work from photographs or actual models?
I don't use live models. I do use photo references. Often I'll put them, several references together to make a portrait. Because I think, you know, I realize the style that I have is being called contemporary realism these days. And there's something called photorealism too, of course. It's exactly like a photo. And I love that work, but it doesn't seem to have the life, I think, that spontaneity does. You know, that's how I work mainly. Partly because I have the studio the size of, you know, it's like 11 feet by 12 feet. We live in an old house that's arts and crafts style, the opposite of the Victorian. So everything was practical. So the bedrooms are tiny. But I love my little studio. It's on the second floor and it's got windows on two sides. It's kind of like a little nest up there. This one is my largest painting ever, and this was a chore in that space. I've done a few other big ones because our son has all these epic ideas for paintings that he wants for his house, and I've done a few of those, but I would love to be able to paint larger. Someday I'm hoping to have a bigger studio, but right now I'm very content where I'm
Your studio is lovely.
at. It's cute.
And it's charming, just like you. It's just, it is. It really is. I've been lucky enough to be in there very many times.
Well, it's getting pretty full of owls and things like that, but it is small. Anyone else have a question? Yes, Linda.
Did you make your dress?
No, this is one I didn't make.
She could have made it.
Yeah.
Yeah, she looks like
I just cut off about 3 feet. Anybody else?
The portrait of the young lady in Boston
Yes.
is so intriguing. And I don't even know what to ask about it actually, but I'm just fascinated by it. It just tells the story. I don't know what the story is, but is that somebody that you are related to? Somebody else?
Yes, that's my granddaughter, Justy. Her mom is here, Jana, the photographer back there. My gorgeous daughter. Justy and I took a trip to Boston a couple of years ago. She was about 17, just the two of us, and it was a wonderful, special trip. She is a joy to travel with. She's funny. She's like a sponge. She just loved every second. She'd never been to Boston before, and it's my favorite city in the U.S. So we ran all over. We ate canola. We did everything. And then the last night, she wanted to go eat at an Italian restaurant. So we went back up to the North End, and that was the last night. You know, we were tired and trying to get a little show, but and just, you know, the sun came in. It was perfect. So
Yeah.
that's the story.
Brad and her, tell her, yeah, tell.
Well, Justy is a senior at the University of Michigan. She's in biology and chemistry, which just blows my mind, and she's just an amazing kid. But she also just got a $3,000 contract for one of her pieces of artwork, so.
Wow.
She's a wonderful
Very
kid.
cool.
Beautiful inside too.
Yeah, she's a beauty.
Anyone else?
I just have to say, Nancy, your art always inspires me with the emotion you capture in people's faces.
they're so alive, your art, the eyes, the face, that's the first thing that struck me when I saw your artwork is how you are able to capture the human spirit in your work. It's really breathtaking and amazing how you were able to do that.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I'm still working on it, you know, you're still constantly learning and changing and so on. Like I said, some of these are older ones, some are newer ones, so you can kind of see a few changes, I think. Yes, Timber.
Yes, can you tell me what you can't do?
Don't ask me to sing.
What is it?
Can't say? Can you sing?
You can, I bet you can.
Probably don't want to waste your dance. There's a lot I can't do. There's a lot everybody has inside themselves, you know. Mine just happens to be very visual. And everybody else has very special gifts.
We used to joke, Rachel and I, that we go home after work and we pop something in the microwave and you know, eat it and think we really accomplished something. You come in the next day with a new outfit you just sewed and cake. I mean, you really something else.
I find the most amazing, I can't believe that you're self-taught. I mean, the first thing I saw, some of these are real masterpieces, and I thought, I wonder where she studied, who she studied under. These are incredible. I can't believe that you taught yourself. I mean, it's just amazing.
That's nice. Thank you so much. But there's so much that I really have.